Hello, and welcome to Schedules Plus Tutorials. Today we're going to take a look at how you can add choices to events and the options that you can set up with those choices. First of all, you would find the event where you have a choice that you're wanting to define. In our example, we're going to use Chat and Chop, an event where people can come and cook in our center and they can choose from one of 3 meals that they'd like to prepare. I would like to set up a choice, and I simply do that by looking at the event and clicking on the Choices tab. As I look at that tab right now, there are no choices set up, so I'm going to add a new choice. It then opens a screen for me where I can add the choice. Each of the fields has field help, so as you scroll over that field, it will actually give you some helpful information about that field. Let's add this choice. You may have multiple choices for an event, so you can actually identify the order that you want these choices to show up. I'm going to add a choice for the meal choice. You can also define whether or not the answer is required. Sometimes you may have a choice, but you don't necessarily need an answer to it right now. You can also define whether or not you want to make this choice visible for people that register from home. So the 3 choices you have there are: you can make it available for people to choose from and it will show on their receipt. You can make it available to choose from home but it doesn't show on their receipt. And then you can make it so that it's not a choice that you really need to present to people if they're registering from home. It's just something that administrators are going to keep track of. So I'm defining these 3 options for this choice, and I can define a default if I'd like. If I don't choose a default, then people could register without having to pick something unless I've said that they specifically need to have an answer. So you can use a combination of answer required and defaults to really achieve the collection of this particular choice. I'm not going to define a default right now, and I'm going to go ahead and save this. So now I've defined this specific one, and it tells me that it's required. So now when I go to register someone, it will require them to add that information. In our example, we're going to go to the point of sale, and we've already searched for Mark, who we're making the sale to, and our particular event is underneath the social schedule. And if I open that now, I see that particular event, and now the drop down is reflected. It says that this is a required field, and I need to identify a selection then when I'm making this purchase for a person. So now that information will be saved, and when I process this, it will be reflected on Mark's receipt. So choices are very straightforward. You can create any number of choices and you can define whether or not it's a required choice. And if you do have a choice that has to have a default field, then you can also reflect what that default would be. Thank you for joining Schedules Plus Tutorials.